10:45 a.m., Memorial Hospital, San Diego. The director's office was suffused with cold light, the kind that made the walls feel sharper, sterner. Dr. Amelia Grant, young, determined, and exhausted, stood before Dr. Richard Owens, her hands trembling slightly as tears traced silent paths down her cheeks. "You performed surgery without authorization." His voice quivered with icy authority. "You're fired." "I did it because the patient was dying," Amelia said, her voice firm but laced with desperation. "Leave before I call security." Dr. Owens snapped, tone devoid of mercy. She walked into the hallway, head bowed, feeling the weight of every gaze. Colleagues watched, regret flickering across faces, but no one moved to stop her. The hum of fluorescent lights and the soft echoes of hospital activity seemed to mock her. 5 minutes later, the building shuddered. Rotor blades shook the glass panels above. Everyone looked up. A Navy helicopter was landing on the roof. An officer stormed down the hallway, shouting, "I need Dr. Amelia Grant." Immediately, the hospital fell silent. 32 years old, a former Navy corpsman, now civilian physician, Amelia had once served as an emergency combat medic in Kandahar, Afghanistan. She had saved lives on the battlefield, including Lieutenant James Miller, performing surgery without supervision amid chaos and explosions. Civilian hospitals, she quickly learned, were a different battlefield, governed by protocols, hierarchies, and paperwork, not survival. On this morning, during an emergency shift, an elderly patient had suffered cardiac arrest. The attending physician had not arrived, and Amelia, seeing the pulse flatline, performed an open-chest cardiac massage, illegal without authorization. The patient lived. Dr. Owens's fury, however, was immediate. "You just violated protocol," he barked. "I saved a life," she countered, steady but tired. By that afternoon, her termination papers were signed. She packed mechanically, the stethoscope placed in her bag with robotic precision, the name badge removed from the lanyard as if shedding her identity. A young intern approached. "Dr. Grant, what you did was amazing. That man is alive because of you." "And I'm jobless because of it," she replied, sad but composed. Fair doesn't exist in bureaucracy. Only rules do. Passing through the emergency department one last time, patients she had treated waved goodbye. Some didn't even know she had been fired. In the locker room, she lingered, staring at her white coat, symbol of everything she had worked for since leaving the military. Her phone buzzed. A message from her mother. "How's your day going, honey?" She typed back, "Just another day in paradise." As she walked toward the exit, Dr. Owens appeared, flanked by administrators. "Dr. Grant, I want to be clear, this isn't personal. It's about maintaining standards." She stopped, facing him directly. "Standards or control. Because from where I stand, those look very different. You can't just let people die while waiting for permission to save them." Outside, the rain began to fall. Ambulances rushed in and out. This was her world. Chaos, urgency, split-second decisions that decided life or death, and she had been cast out of it. A familiar security guard approached. "Doc, I'm sorry." "Thanks, Marcus," she replied. "The guy you saved this morning? My wife's uncle. You gave our family more time with him. That matters more than any rule." She finally sat in her car, letting herself cry, not from sorrow but exhaustion, the years of fighting to belong only to be told she didn't. Dog tags clinked against the rearview mirror, and she whispered to them, "To the memory of who I used to be." Her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Dr. Grant?" A trembling voice said. "This is Margaret. You saved my husband this morning. He's awake, talking, and asked me to find you. Thank you. You gave our children their father." Amelia closed her eyes. Tears fell freely. "Thank you for being brave," echoed in her mind. Suddenly, the sound of rotor blades roared overhead. A gray UH-60 Black Hawk descended on the hospital rooftop. Security scattered, patients and staff frozen in awe. From the cabin, Lieutenant James Miller stepped out, his voice commanding. "Is Dr. Amelia Grant here? Get her on board now." Amelia's disbelief was palpable as she was escorted to the roof. A helicopter went down at sea. The pilot has severe chest trauma. We need a combat medic. You're the only one qualified, James explained. Dr. Owens's voice crackled over radio. She's no longer employed here. Sir, this is a military requisition. Emergency activation protocol. She's required. Amelia fastened her harness, eyes sharp and focused, heart suddenly steady. She looked back at the hospital, the place that had just rejected her. I'll return, but not to apologize. Inside the helicopter, James handed her a medical kit. No surgical suite, no imaging, no backup team. Just her hands, her experience, and a man's life hanging in the balance. The pilot had taken shrapnel to the chest. Time was short. 40 nautical miles out, 20 minutes. Amelia's mind clicked instantly into combat mode. Civilian fears evaporated. This was what she knew. This was where she belonged. Over the Pacific, the waves churned below, the headset alive with radio traffic. Black Hawk inbound, patient critical. Landing on the carrier deck. Sailors swarmed, guided by controlled chaos. The medical officer looked exhausted. Doctor, I tried everything. We're losing him. Amelia assessed penetrating chest trauma, possible cardiac tamponade. Memories of Kandahar surged forward. I need to open his chest now. No time for imaging, no team. She scrubbed, gloved, and worked with precision honed over years. 15 tense minutes later, the pilot stabilized. Vital signs improved. Heart rate normalized. The medical bay erupted in relieved applause. James in the doorway, eyes wet, whispered, "Once again, you saved a soldier's life." Amelia removed her gloves, calm but drained. The ship's captain, a stern veteran, nodded in approval. "Exceptional work, Doctor. The Navy owes you a debt. This man has a family. Thanks to you." A young sailor hesitated, then asked, "How did you stay so calm?" She looked at him, seeing herself years ago, raw, uncertain. Fear is normal. Panic is a choice. I chose to focus on what needed to be done. Back at Memorial Hospital, the news spread like wildfire. Fire doctor saves Navy pilot in emergency at sea. Dr. Owens watched helplessly, speechless. Public pressure mounted. Advocacy groups protested. Former patients spoke out. 3 days later, the Navy formally commended Amelia for extraordinary valor. The hospital board convened. Dr. Owens was forced to resign, and Amelia was invited back, not as a resident, but as director of emergency medicine. "I accept," she said, "but only on one condition: full autonomy over emergency operations." They agreed. Her return was triumphant. Staff lined the hallways, some crying, others saluting. Even skeptics like Dr. Patricia Henderson approached. "I respect what you did, but the hospital needs protocols." "Protocols serve patients, not the other way around," Amelia replied firmly. Henderson studied her, saw herself decades prior, and finally nodded. In her new office, a photo of the Navy pilot and his family sat on her desk. "Because of you, I get to watch my daughter grow up. Thank you for being brave." James visited. "Feels strange being called director, huh?" "Feels right," she replied. "I spent years trying to fit into a system. Turns out the system needed changing, not me." Months later, at the American Medical Association conference, Amelia spoke to hundreds of physicians. "My career isn't defined by titles or institutions. It's defined by the lives you touch and the courage you show when everything is on the line." Students asked, "What if we're wrong?" "You live with it, but hesitation costs lives. Break the rules when following them would betray a patient. That's when you decide who you're truly serving." Her story went viral. Doctors worldwide reached out, sharing experiences of being punished for doing right. Amelia founded Doctors Without Hesitation, advocating for professional autonomy and patient-first care. Back at Memorial, young doctors acted decisively under the grant protocol. One emergency, an elderly woman with a heart attack, was saved because a resident acted immediately. Confidence born from Amelia's fight. James visited her again. "You're kind of a legend now." "I'm a legend who still works night shifts and drinks terrible hospital coffee," she laughed. 3 months later, Amelia spoke at the AMA conference again. influencing national policy, sharing lessons of courage and decisive action. 2 years later, she stood on the rooftop helipad at Memorial, plaque reading Grant Landing, where courage meets compassion. James joined her. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "No," she said softly. Every choice, every risk, every consequence. It led to that little girl having her father at her birthday. That's why it mattered. Below, ambulances rushed in. Emergency department doors burst open. Amelia smiled. Someone's life was waiting. She grabbed her coat, heading back into the chaos. Always ready, always willing, always there.